Is Kafka really free to play freely and easy to build? So that's what we're going to be talking about today, guys. I've seen a lot of people in my comment sections and on my Twitch at twitch.tv/you can't see me talking about my takes on Kafka. I'm not saying it's not very free to play friendly to builder. So we're going to be going over that today. I'll be going over, I guess, more in depth on my thought on why I don't think she's very free to play friendly. So, and also some things that I have looked at more that I've changed my mind on a little bit. So let's go ahead and talk about it now, guys. Let's go ahead and bring up the one point of contention that I feel like is most been brought up to me, and that is when I said that you need to build a team for Kafka, and that's the reason why it is like super non-free to play friendly. And a lot of people are saying, yeah, you need to build a team around everyone, and yes, that is the case for most characters. I mean, that's the case for every character. You need to build a team around these characters. Like every character needs to have a team. The difference with Dot, though, there is a difference with Dot, though. The difference is that you need those characters you need for the other teams, right? Like supports and tanks and healers and everything like that, but you also need another Dot character to go with her. Now you can run Kritka. That is a viable option. You can run Kritka. I think it'll be a viable option anyways. But overall, if you actually read her kit, it's based off of Dot, so you do need another Dot character essentially to run her at, I think, her max capacity, right? Another Dot character is really going to enhance her damage that much more. So that's the reason why I say it is more expensive to build, because Dot characters, they care about their levels. You need to level them up to max. Like they have to be leveled up to max to like be the most effective they can be, right? Because break effect scales heavily off the amount of level a character has. The more level you have, it gives you a lot more break effect damage, which then in turn gives you more Dot damage as well. We're going to talk about the actual cost to build characters here in a second, but more so talking about this point here is like the other supports and stuff that you build, right? Like, yes, you build those and you can put those on the teams with other DPS characters, but they can fit in just about any team you want to put them in. Where Dot characters aren't that malleable, I would say. You can't really fit them into every single team. Like, you can't just throw Sampo into every single team, whereas you could, you know, throw a Pela in just about every team. You can throw an Asta in just about every team. You can throw a Ting Yun in just about every team. Like, these are characters that you can't just, you know, throw lackadaisically around in every team, right? And that's why I say it is less free to play friendly to build, because they can only be built for more niche teams. So you are having to spend more of your resources on that. And that's what we're going to talk about now, the actual cost to level up a character. So guys, as far as like the cost to level up a character, right? To level up a character from level 1 to level 80, you need a lot. You need a lot. You need essential materials, you need XP, you need gold, right? Let's not even talk about traces or anything like that. To upgrade a character from level 1 to level 80, you need around 7 days of farming time to actually get the max amount of XP that you need to level up a character. That's not including gold either. To actually max a character out as far as gold goes, that's another 9 days. If you're talking about just XP though, that's about another 4 days of farming that you need for that. So it's about a week and a half of farming just for that. We're not even adding in any trace materials or anything like that. When you add in that trace material, it's like 2 weeks worth of farming, right? And as far as like what the game gives you in terms of gold goes, you only get enough to like really get one character to max out in a month, right? And I did a video on this, is don't scam yourself out of gold, basically breaking down all the gold you get in a month. If you want to check that video out and check my math out on that, then you can watch that video. I'll leave a link to it in the description. But overall, you don't get enough gold in a month to build 2 characters. So you are going to have to spend more Trailblazer power upgrading and maxing out 2 characters to actually make Kafka the most viable that she can be. Like I said, you don't have to run Kafka with DOTs. I understand that, but to put her in her most viable situation, you need to build these other dots up. And with that being said, on top of that, you really can't just use one dot all the time, right? So say you bring Kafka in a situation, you're not using Silverwolf on the team because you don't have Silverwolf, and you're in a situation now where the enemy doesn't have a wind shear weakness. What do? You're gonna have to, you know, bring a Luca with you. You're gonna have to bring a Serval with you if it's a lightning DOT only or something like that, right? Like, so you're technically really needing to build more than one DOT character to fit different situations. I saw a commenter say, and he makes a pretty good point, right, is that most people don't have 2 teams for MOC. Well, I agree with that. I also have to say to that, you need more than 2 teams for MOC generally, right? Because 2 teams is not going to get you through every single stage of MOC just because of the changing types and how different things are with each MOC stage you go through. So you realistically need more than 2 teams. But yes, if you don't have any more DPS characters, then go for her, right? You're going to have to put that investment in, you know, to really progress through the game. You need characters that can deal damage to, you know, get through the game, right? And that's going to lead us into the final point of the video. Do I think it's worth building the other characters on the banner, or do I think it's worth building building the other DOT characters that we have in the game. And for the most part, I do say yes to this. Sampo, I think Sampo is a great replacement for Dan Heng. I think he can help you out a lot in MOC, especially if you're struggling beating stage with enemies that have a wind debuff and you don't have Blade on your account, right? I think he's a lot better option than Danny is because he breaks shields so much more efficiently than Danny can. Also, Luca's on the banner. I think it's worth building him. He makes the enemies take increased damage. He causes DOT on the enemy, which is bleed, which scales off their max HP. We're gonna have to wait to see what that attack stat is. And then finally, he removes buffs from enemy as well. So I mean, he can slot in on some teams as that character doing debuffs on the enemies. So I mean, could be a good option to run. Serval as well. Serval has, well, shock AoE. That's really the main thing she does. Shock AoE damage. I mean, so if you don't have like Jing Yuan or you don't get your Kafka for whatever reason, right, then you have an AoE shock unit, though you do get her for free already in the game. My main point of contention with this is for these characters to actually be super good, you need them high Eidolons, right? You need Sampo to re-trigger his DOT damage. You really need that E4. Honestly, all of Sampo's Eidolons are pretty good, but you do need the E4 to make him kind of act like Kafka and proc his own wind shear early, right? Same thing with Serval, right? You generally need her E6 to actually do a huge amount of damage or a good amount of damage. You need her E6. You need these high Eidolons, which means even more investment for free-to-play players to actually put into their accounts for this. Whereas, say, you have Asta, right? Asta worked at E1. Ting Yun worked at E1. These supports work a lot better at E1 because they're not having to so heavily rely on their damage outputs for their kits, right? They're relying on supporting the rest of the team, which generally you don't need Eidolons for. Eidolons, sure, they help out a lot, but you don't need them. So my overall thoughts on like the comments that I've gotten is I think it's fine to build supports and build tanks for your teams, right? For your DPS teams, right? I just don't think it's very free-to-play friendly to build these niche characters that you're really only going to use, you know, for your Kafka team or in niche situations. I think that's just kind of like a waste of resources, and you can't really call something, I guess, free-to-play friendly if it takes you a month to get these characters all the way leveled up. On top of this, having to level up Kafka as well and more stuff for her to work. It's kind of like a Jing Yuan situation, right? He's not free-to-play friendly. Why? Because you need his light cone, you need Ting Yun on the team, you need a lot for him to work. Same thing can be said for the dot characters or Kafka in general, right? I think Kafka will work better than Jing Yuan out of the gate, honestly, without as many supports. But just for her to, in her best situation, on her best teams, it is going to require that dot damage, which means building these dot characters up. At the end of the day, guys, pull for who you want to pull for, right? I'm pulling for Kafka, and I know a lot of people are pulling for Kafka. I'm just out here trying to give reasons on why you might not want to pull for Kafka. Now, if you're interested on why you want to pull for Kafka, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we'll be doing a video on why you should be summoning for Kafka when Kafka releases. So, with that being said, that's really going to do it for today's video. If you haven't already, join the Discord, follow Twitch, and maybe subscribe to this YouTube channel, and give it a like or a dislike, up to you. Leave a comment too if you have any more questions, and that's going to do it. See you guys later. Bye-bye.